Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I thought we could go through all the books that I managed to read in the month of April, and I think I counted them and I want to say I managed to read 11 books, which is a pretty decent reading month for me. I tend to average much lower than that recently, but I did find a series that I absolutely loved and binged, so I think that definitely helped with managing to read 11 books. So there's no order to the books that I've got. I've just put them in a random stack and I'm just going to take it off randomly and talk to you about it. It's not in any order of lowest rating to highest rating. It's not in the order that I read them. It is just completely random because I can't be bothered to sort that out. So it's just going to be what it is, and hopefully that's okay. So the first book on the stack that I have is What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. So this is the second book in the Sworn Soldier series. I managed to read the first book the month before in March, and I think I was kind of hoping to finish this in March, but I believe this probably was the first book I did finish in April, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure I listened to this as an audiobook and it literally took like an hour to 2 hours out of my day to finish this because it is very short. It's only about 150 odd pages or so. So in this book we are still following Alex, and he travelled all the way to his friend because his friend was having some nightmares, and apparently the town is quite eerie. Not many people talk about what's happening. People are getting poorly, no one really knows why, no one's really questioning, it's just kind of happening and people are kind of letting it happen. So it's actually happening to Alex's friend, so he goes down there to kind of check on him, see how they're doing, but he doesn't really believe in the ghosts and the ghouls and stuff like that. He's just, you know, there has to be a scientific explanation as to what's happening and why, but there is whispers of this breath-stealing ghoul monster lurking around, and it sounds pretty grim. It sounds a bit confusing until it actually starts happening to Alex and he gets this bug, this illness, and his breath is then kind of being taken away from him, which leads them to kind of confront what's happening and try and deal with it basically. And T. Kingfisher is very good at writing ghoul, scary, sort of creepy scenes, and I just really like the way that T. Kingfisher writes. I really liked the first one, which is why I picked this up immediately after. I wasn't too sure if I would like a horror sort of book, but it's not like I'm scared out of my skin, it's just gross and creepy, but it is quite entertaining as well. So I do kind of hope there's going to be more in the Sworn Soldier series. This is book 2, so I can only assume there's going to be more, but I haven't really done any research to kind of know yes or no with that. But I did really enjoy this. This was a great start to the reading month. I think I read it in like a day or two, so I mean it put me on with the momentum to kind of carry on reading for the month. So if you do like creepy, ghouly sort of writing, I would definitely recommend a T. Kingfisher book. So another book I read in the month of April is If Only I Had Told Her by Laura Nolan. Now I wanted to pick this up for absolutely ages because I adored the first book, If He Had Been With Me. It was like one of the best books I had read, I think last year or it was the year before, I can't quite remember, but it made me cry. It was just so emotional, it was so beautifully written, and this came out at Waterstones. I got the special sprayed edition because I just really wanted to like this, and I thought it was going to be a brilliant book, and it really just wasn't for me. I personally think that if you read If He Had Been With Me, I would just stop there. I don't think this necessarily adds anything to the story. I thought it was going to be exactly the same story but from Finn's point of view, and it was kind of interesting to then see his side of everything that happened, but it wasn't. It was kind of Finn's side of the story, like literally the day before everything happened, and then it's how they've kind of moved on from what happened. I mean, I don't really want to say too much because if I say anything it's going to spoil the first one for you, so if you haven't read it, I don't really want to do that for you. So yeah, it's kind of a bit tough to kind of talk about, but it's from 3 different perspectives. So you get Finn's first in the first third, and then you get his best friend's perspective, and then you get Autumn's perspective at the end. So it's kind of nice to see where things have gone on from and kind of what's happened in their lives after everything. But there was nothing drastic, there was nothing that you kind of needed to know about, and I just feel like I kind of wasted my time reading this a little bit because it didn't add anything to me. I wanted Finn's side of everything from back when they were kids and how it led to that moment, and it wasn't that at all. So I was a bit disappointed in this. I did read it rather quickly as well, which was kind of annoying, but then I think it was more of a I just kind of want to get it over and done with, sort of. So not the greatest read. I mean, I still read it. I'm probably still going to keep it, at least for a little bit, because I like the cover and I like the sprayed edges, but it just was not a book for me at all. So if you want my opinion, you just read If He Had Been With Me. It's a great standalone. I just don't think you need to read this after. Probably very controversial, probably a few people might agree or disagree with me, and that's fine, but it just wasn't a book for me. So then moving on from this book, I then picked up another book, and I have no idea what this is about. So this is book 5.5, so it's a novella, and it's the Big ASS Party. It's part of the Zodiac Academy series. I started reading those books last year, it must be, or the year before, and I absolutely love them. And I got up to book 5, read that, and then I kind of just stopped reading it for ages. So I've been trying to put these on my TBR. I think I put it on my TBR for March, never got around to it. I ended up adding it to my TBR for April, and I only managed to read this because while I was in hospital with my sister, I forgot my book. It was in the car. I didn't want to travel all the way over there, but I had my phone with me, so I downloaded this because I have Kindle Unlimited, so I thought I would read it, you know, just to keep me occupied. And I did read it. And from what I know, I enjoyed it, but I think because of the time that I read it, I have no memory of what this is about. I'm pretty sure it didn't really have Darcy and Tori in it. It had more of Geraldine in it and kind of her situationship with one of the heirs, I think. But other than that, I have no idea. I don't even remember what I rated it. I think I must have rated it like 3 or 4 stars because I enjoyed it at the time, but yeah. So I kind of get the feeling I might need to reread this if I'm going to carry on with the Zodiac Academy series. But I do really like them. They're really great, but they're really just rubbish. But like they're the perfect binging sort of material. But yeah. So I mean, I'm still adding this to that I read it because I did, but I just have no idea what this is about. So if anyone does remember, feel free to comment down below, you know, a brief synopsis of what happened, because I mean I could just go onto Goodreads, but I feel like I don't want to spoil like the rest of the series for me. So yeah, I did read this, I just don't remember anything about it. So moving on to a book that I have only just recently finished, and that is An Ember in the Ashes. Now this has been on my TBR for quite a while. It's one that I've kind of wanted to read but just never had the momentum to kind of pick up. And then I was going away for a day in Chichester and I needed an audiobook for the ride because it was going to be like a 6-hour round trip, and I thought, oh, this is on my audiobook app. It could kind of be the perfect time to pick this up. So I picked this up as an audiobook. I read most of it, if not all of it, as an audiobook because I didn't finish it in that journey, but I did really like the narrators in it, so I just kind of carried on listening to it with my headphones while I was at work, while I was at home, and bits and pieces. So in this we are following 2 different peoples. We've got 2 different POVs. We have Leia and we have Elias. Now Leia is basically an orphan. It's her and her brother living together under the rule of the Marshall Empire. Now one day these big bad men from the Empire come in and raid their home and take her brother away, and they put it down to treason, and he's fighting for his life and she's kind of just standing there not fighting for him, and they kind of just let her go, kill the grandparents, you know, while she's there, while they're watching, which is, you know, sucks. And then her brother is just kind of taken away and she's kind of left with, well, what do I do, sort of. So in her mind she did the wrong thing. She should have fought for him, so now she's gonna fight for him. So she ends up coming across the rebellion or the resistance. I kind of forget which one it is. I think it's the rebellion. So she comes across the rebellion and asks for their help, is to try and get her into the Empire so she can help save her brother. But one of the things that you don't really know is that her parents were killed, but her parents were the leaders of the rebellion. So she basically uses that to kind of blackmail her way in to then get their help, basically. Otherwise I don't think they would have helped, really. So they do end up helping her, and then she's taken into the Empire and she's basically a slave, and she kind of has to figure out her place there, as well as trying to find information to feed back to the rebellion, be a spy for them, and then in return they're going to help her find her brother. And then while this is happening we have Elias. Now Elias is a soldier of the Empire, but he is secretly the most unwilling soldier. So from what we kind of know, they have these masks. Now once you become a mask, you have this mask that puts on and it kind of welds to your skin, and then eventually you just won't be able to take it off. That's just you, that's your personality, and he doesn't like that. So every night he ends up taking his mask off, and it's like literally like ripping off a second skin. It's disgusting by the sounds of it. And his teammates and other soldiers have kind of realised that his mask hasn't quite fitted to him yet, but yet he's not going to explain that I don't actually want to be here. I don't want to be a soldier. I don't want to be a mask. I kind of want my freedom. So just before he graduates, he kind of wants to escape and move on with his life and just kind of leave being a soldier behind. But then he kind of gets this prophecy to go, you are never going to be happy if you do this. You're going to be constantly chasing a dream, so you kind of need to figure out what you want to do, but basically don't run. So he kind of listens to that. He stays and he graduates, and then that's kind of when he bumps into Leia. And then obviously this whole potential romance happens, and the story just kind of goes on from there. Now, this book does end on a cliffhanger. It is a 4-book series, I want to say, and I kind of regret picking this up because I did really enjoy this, but that just means I need to get the rest of the series so I can carry it on. But I really liked the world building. I liked the background information that you got on both the characters. I like a dual POV anyway, and I think the narrators that I listened to did that really well, because I was very easily able to distinguish which chapter was whose and kind of what storyline and plot we were following. Now, I don't know if she does have any other books. I feel like she does, but I'm not too sure. But I do want to get the rest of the books in the series and kind of check them out, because, like I said, it's ended on a cliffhanger and I kind of want to know what's going to happen. This was a very fun read. I did manage to read this quite quickly as well, and I think that kind of helped because I was in a bit of a reading slump during the month of April, so this did definitely help me kind of get out of it a little bit. But yeah, this was just a really fantastic read for me. I then managed to pick up the Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. I managed to get the special sprayed edition. I do have the ARC as well somewhere, but I did purposely pick up the sprayed edition because I have the special edition of 5 Survive as well, so I wanted to get them so they matched. Now, I'm pretty sure I did actually end up listening to this as an audiobook. I can't quite remember, but I feel like I did. And I really like reading like murder mystery thriller books as an audiobook because it really just keeps me gripping. So I think that's what I did, but I don't actually remember. So in this, we are following Rachel Price's daughter, Belle. Now, Rachel disappeared like many moons ago. No one knew what happened, and it was kind of just brushed under a rock. No one found her, so that was that basically. And then one day, this film production wanted to come back and meet the Price family to kind of talk about, you know, it's been so long since Rachel Price disappeared, how has that affected you, and, you know, do a little documentary on what kind of happened. So then while they were filming this, Belle was kind of walking across the street, and then the next thing you know, she sees Rachel Price there, and she kind of doesn't really know what to believe at first, because this can't be Rachel Price, this can't be her mum that's been missing for like 16 years, because, you know, that's just absurd. So she ends up running back to her house and just thinking, you know, she's just gone a bit crazy. She's, you know, all this documentary stuff, it's just bringing up past trauma, so let's just kind of move on. And then she ends up knocking on her house, and, you know, it is Rachel Price. So then it's then their story of she's then come back, she's got no memory of what happened, but then some things just aren't adding up to Belle, and Belle is just curious as to who this woman is, because it is her mum, but Rachel disappeared when Belle was a complete baby, so she has no memory of her mum. So it's then kind of rekindling their relationship and kind of building up a mother-daughter relationship, and then we kind of just see inside Belle's head as to all the questions she has to ask, and Rachel says some things that just don't quite add up with the story that she told her dad, and it's just, yeah, it's all a bit odd and it's all a bit weird. Now, there are some twists in this as well, and the twists are just incredible. I really like Holly Jackson's writing in general. I thought her Good Girls Guide to Murder Story series was, you know, incredible. It's hyped up for a reason. I thought 5 Survive was incredible, and again, she cannot write a bad book to me personally. I just thought this was gripping. I thought it was so unique in a way as well, because I like the idea of the TV documentary, because then one of the assistants in the TV documentary that was then kind of helping Belle kind of figure out who Rachel was, and they were kind of doing like undercover investigating and things. It was just a really fun time. Now, this is a YA book as well, which I quite like. It's very fun, light-hearted, you know, it's not blood and gore and everything like that. It's just a really fun, like, suspenseful thriller that I definitely flew through in April, and I really hope Holly Jackson just keeps writing books, because all the books that she's wrote, I think I've read all of them apart from Killjoy, because that's just a quick short novella in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. It's the only book that I haven't read by her, but it was just such a fun time, and I'm so glad that I picked this up. This is definitely a book that I do kind of want to reread and just kind of see if there was any like plot holes or things that I missed, any little, you know, hints that probably would make me think, oh, Rachel was lying about that, or Belle should have done this sort of. But yeah, it was just such a fun read. I just love Holly Jackson in general. Just, yeah, if you're gonna pick up a suspenseful thriller YA, it needs to be a Holly Jackson book. I'm then going to count the next 5 books as one book, because I did indeed manage to start and finish the entire Chestnut Springs series in the month of April. Now, I am definitely on my cowboy romance hype at the moment, because I've never picked up a cowboy romance before. I don't know what made me think to pick it up, because I didn't think this was my type of thing. And the first one I picked up, I think I managed to finish it in a few days, and I was just obsessed. So I then had the rest of the series. I think the only one I didn't have at the time was Hopeless, which was the last one, and I managed to find it at work, so I picked it up then. But I want to say the rest of them I picked up at the works, because it was, I think they were on the 3 for £6 deal, which just obviously tempted me. So yeah, I read the first one in about 2 or 3 days, obsessed, and then I want to say the next few I read in a day or 2. I was just completely blown away by Elsie Silver's writing, and I think I actually ended up getting most of them on my Kindle, because I just didn't want to take these to work if I could just take my Kindle, and I do tend to read quicker on my Kindle as it is. So we have Flawless, we have Heartless, we have Powerless, we have Reckless, and we have Hopeless. These are rather heavy, so I'm just going to hold up my favourite one and then talk about them all. So these are basically following all of the Eaton brothers. So each book is dedicated to a brother, and it's basically their story on how they find love. And it's all set in a cozy town called Chestnut Springs. Everyone kind of knows the Eatons. They're kind of a popular name. They've kind of made a name for themselves in Chestnut Springs, and they are all these cowboys. You've got bull riders, one of them was like in the army, you've got hockey players, you know, you've got all the cowboys you could kind of think of, and yeah, you kind of just follow each person on how they find love, and it was just an incredible time. But you do have to read them in the right order, so you do have to read them in the publication order, just because there is crossovers of the brothers and, you know, their relationships in the other books as well, which I really did enjoy, because I liked the little sneak peeks of the other couples that you see, and you kind of see their development through someone else's book as well. So it's not like you just get one book with, you know, one couple and that's it, you kind of never see them again. You do see them throughout, because obviously they're a family, they go out for family meals and stuff, so it was just such a fun time. My favourite book had to be Heartless. I absolutely loved Cade. I think Cade was like my favourite brother, and I really liked Willa as a character too. She was very strong-willed, but she was very good for Cade. So yeah, this is the second book in the series, so definitely read the first one, please get to the second one. A lot of people prefer like the fourth one, which is Hopeless, but me and definitely my friend Zoe, we absolutely love the second one. Cade is just elite. He is top tier book boyfriend. So I don't think I really need to go into much more detail other than that it's cowboy romance. It is smutty, it is beautifully written, and it's so fast paced that you can literally just sit and read this in one sitting, and you will just become obsessed with Elsie Silver's writing. I did want to get to her first book in her new series, Wild Love, in April, but I just never got around to it, and I really regret that. So I'm kind of hoping I can pick that book up sometime soon. But yeah, I never thought I would say that I am in my cowboy romance era, or that I would like cowboy romances, but this has definitely changed the game for me. And then I suppose just to mention the other book that I have been reading for the month of April, and probably for the month of March as well, is Empire of the Vampire. Now, I'm nowhere near to finishing this book. I am currently 164 pages in, and I haven't picked this up for about 2-3 weeks now. I do kind of want to carry on reading this because I am really enjoying it, but for some reason it's just taking me so much longer to get through this. I don't know if it's because of the size of it, I don't know if it's because I am annotating it as well, I don't know. So if you guys have any tips or tricks to kind of make me sit and read this beast, because I am enjoying it so much, but but I'm just not drawn to picking it up. And I think it's because it's taking me like an hour to read 20 pages, and I just know that I could pick up another book and read 100 pages in an hour. So I'm kind of just a bit undecided as to what to do. Part of me kind of wants to just pick up the audiobook and listen to it and kind of pause annotating it for now, just kind of read it, and then I can always go back to annotating it. But then I know in myself I'm never going to go back and annotate it, so I just don't really know what to do. But I do want to read this and I do want to finish this, so this could be a challenge for the month of May. So here's hoping that when I do a May wrap up, this book is going to be in it. But I just thought I would mention that I have also done some good reading of this. I say good reading, I've done some reading of it, just not as much as I would really want. So I read 11 books as well as the 100 or so pages of this. Now I was just about to end the video there, and I've just realised I completely forgot to mention a book that I've also read in the month of April. So I read this on my Kindle, and I think it's because I don't actually have a physical copy, so I've kind of forgotten about it. So I requested this book on NetGalley because I noticed that she was having a new book out, and I only read one book by her, but I absolutely loved it. So I picked up a novel love story by Ashley Poston. I requested it on NetGalley and I was accepted literally the next day, and I jumped to read that as soon as possible because the only book I've read by her is The Dead Romantics, and I absolutely loved that book. It was just so great. I haven't read The 7 Year Slip, but that is on my May TBR, so I'm hoping to get around to that at some point soon. So I picked up a novel love story, and it was such a warm and cozy read. So we are following Eileen. Now she is romance obsessed. She loves a romance book, but in her life romance is a bit shit at the moment, to be honest. Now, there is this one book series that her and her friends have absolutely loved. So every year they go to this cabin in the woods to just sit and read this series and just talk about it and just completely become obsessed with it. But this year everyone kind of cancelled, everyone's got other plans and things like that, and she didn't want to cancel, so she decided to still go, but she was just going to go on her own, kind of find herself. She was just out of a relationship, so she, you know, she could do with some downtime on her own. But then while she was travelling to this cabin, there was a storm, there was something wrong with her car, and she ended up having to stop in this cozy little town, and this cozy little town ended up being the town that these books were inspired by. Now I believe the town is called Elloraturn. I could be pronouncing that completely wrong, but she kind of goes walking around and everything kind of just seems familiar, and she kind of doesn't realise why it feels familiar, and then at some point it just kind of clicks and she goes, this is the town that, you know, all her favourite books have been based off, and the characters are also based off the people that live there as well. So she's like starstruck because some of her favourite characters are just walking up to her and saying hi because, you know, they run the coffee shop, and she kind of knows everything about their lives, but she's trying to play it really cool and calm because obviously she's just an outsider, and I don't think these people actually know that their lives have been written into a story. So she's kind of like fangirling over this, and then obviously there's this guy who owns a bookstore who kind of waltzes into her life, and he's kind of deciding whether he does like her, whether he doesn't. She keeps wanting to leave but is drawn back to him. Yeah, and it's just their kind of rekindling of their romance because he's very much quite shy. He doesn't want to put himself out there because of reasons that are kind of told in the book. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but it was such a fun, cozy time, and the fact that like it was about her favorite novel and that these people, you know, these people were real, and she went to the real place that this novel was written about. And I just think it was incredible because I feel like if that happened to like any one of us, if we ended up stumbling across a town that was actually written into like one of your favorite books, like she acted exactly how I would, with fangirling over certain characters and just wanting to see everything. I just thought it was a great idea. It was such a fun romance. And I loved the ending. I loved the way it was kind of finished. I want to say, but I don't want to spoil it because obviously it doesn't come out. I don't think it comes out till August. July, August time, the summertime at least. But I just love the way that, you know, they focused on themselves before anything kind of happened, and I just think Ashley Poston's writing is just so good, and it was just such a fun romance read. And I've definitely gone into my romance since reading the Chestnut Springs series, so most of the books I have read is romance, which is quite bizarre because I'm definitely trying to get back into my fantasy now, because I never thought I would say that you know, I've read more romance than fantasy in an entire month. So yeah, that was another book that I did manage to read. So I believe that is 11 books that I have now spoke about. But yeah, that's one of the top books I have read. Such a fun, cozy romance book that I just think everyone should probably pick up at some point, obviously when it's out. So yeah, that was all the books that I've read. Please let me know in the comments below how many books you managed to read in the month of April. I would love to know whether you read one book, whether you read 30 books. You know, it's still an accomplishment. And let me know what your favourite read of April was as well, because looking at my stack, I don't know if I can choose. It's either going to be Heartless by Elsie Silver or it's going to be The Reappearance of Rachel Price, I think. I mean, two very different genres, but two very, very good books. So I don't know if I can pick one. So they're the two I'm choosing. But yeah, let me know your favourite read of April in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for sticking around to the very end, and I will see you in my next video.